Hey everybody, this is Jim, and this is our video on authentic leadership. This focuses in Nordhaus books on chapter 9, and as we jump into authentic leadership, once again, we will highlight a few key things in the slides as to what authentic leadership is and how it works. I won't go through everything, but I will post the slides for you to take a look and use them as you're doing your discussions and your posts and working on the practice case study. So once again, we'll place authentic leadership within the theory matrix and explain to you how you can fill that part out as we go through it. So I think it is important to understand that authentic leadership is not just being an authentic leader. You can be an authentic servant leader, an authentic transformational leader. And so authentic leadership is itself a theory, not a prescription for how to be authentic, but a theory that describes what makes authentic leadership work. This was originally conceptualized about 15 years ago at the University of Nebraska in the School of Business. They conceptualized some features that make authentic leadership work as leadership was interested in leadership that was a more genuine, authentic expression of the leader and the leader's life, and also the leader's morals. So authentic leadership get viewed as from three perspectives. From an intrapersonal perspective, that's the leadership, the leader based upon this self-concept and how that relates to their actions. And so you're in interpersonal perspective, the leader is acting according with who they are. And then the interpersonal perspective is the leader and followers working together. And the developmental perspective is authentic leadership develops over a period of time. And so, as we explain a definition of it, here is the definition again that some of the professors at the University of Nebraska arrived at. It is a pattern that draws upon and promotes both the positive psychological capacities, a positive ethical climate, fosters self-awareness, internalized moral perspective, balanced processing, relational transparency, all as a way of fostering positive self-development. So what authentic leadership theory says is that authentic leadership works when it's about who the leader is and it's about who the followers become. So it's within our matrix then, it is both a leader and follower based. And there are certain things that the leader does, certain behaviors, which we'll point out in a moment. And then from a follower perspective, authentic leadership is focused on the development of the followers as individuals, as people, not just as for the work or tasks that they do. So when we come to authentic leadership, you'll find two major models in the chapter. One is a practical model, which we'll look at in just a moment, by Bill George, the characteristics of authentic leaders, and Nordhaus goes through 5 of them, and you can look at that. But then there's the theoretical perspective. Now, in this perspective, there's a basic model that's been put together that, again, this is not a how to be authentic or even how to be an authentic leader, but this is what makes authentic leadership work. And so there are 2 factors to contribute to how it works. One is that the leader has a moral reasoning, which means they make decisions based upon ethics and values, and they can think those things through as they're leading people and guiding people. There's particular values that shape the way they work. And then the positive psychological capacities, and this refers to hope, efficacy, resilience, and optimism. And so the leader fosters a climate where there's hope, and by hope that means there's a willpower, a desire to do something, but also a way power. They're thinking of ways to do it. So as the leader fosters this kind of hope and confidence and resilience and optimism, and is able to be thinking with ethics and value and reasoning that way. The third element is critical life events, which means there are significant events that happen in all of our lives. And in this case, what they're saying is authentic leadership works when you take those critical life events and can reason from them and learn from them and lead because of them. So, for example, as an entrepreneur, having started several businesses and a couple of nonprofits, one of those did not go well, and one of the nonprofits did not work, and it closed. It was a setback for us. Okay, that was a critical life event that hopefully I learned something from, and that shaped the way I would lead. Authentic leadership theory would say, if that happens, then authentic leadership will be occurring. So, and as it plays out, there's 4 key things that begin to show up. The leaders are very self-aware. They operate by their internalized moral perspective. This means they know how to have moral reasoning and think ethically. But as they become an authentic leader, they follow their own compass, their own moral perspective. They're consistent with it. Balanced processing refers to the ability to look at things from multiple perspectives, and it is the conviction that the best way to lead is to get all sides of an issue and all people's perspective. And then lastly, relational transparency, being open and honest with relationships. And so what this theory argues is as these qualities are pursued and a leader uses moral, ethical, value reasoning and learns and interprets critical life events and responds to them, then the leader becomes more aware of who they are, they're consistent with their values, they take in all sides and views, they're open and honest in relationships, and whatever it is that they're doing, it's an expression of who they are as authentic leadership that is focused on the followers becoming the same way. So that's their theory of how it works. It is one of the newer leadership theories. Here are some characteristics that you can, some effects rather of it, some outcomes of it that you can note for your matrix that are also in Nordhaus. But where leaders have been authentic leader and followed this particular model, they have found followers thrive at work. There's greater employer creativity. There's more optimism and trust in the followers. There's greater performance. So there's some outcomes from it. Here's some of the characteristics in the practical approach. Now, this other one is a theoretical approach that's been researched from theory. This is a practical approach, and you can read about those characteristics of authentic leaders in Nordhaus. So, and there's Bill George's diagram of the 5 characteristics and the implications. And then here's some of the strengths of it, and here are some of the criticism of it. So now this week, as you're working through authentic leadership, you'll have the quiz, you'll have discussion posts, but then you will not have a reflection. Instead, you will have the first case study. You will have a practice case study, and you will find this under modules. If you click on modules and then scroll down to the authentic leadership section, you'll see the practice case study. You click on that. There's some explanations about it, how it works. There is the video to watch. It is due this Sunday night, June 9th. You do this as a group, so you'll want to make a Google Doc of this, and then there's sets of questions that everybody can work on, and as a group, you turn in one. Now, on this practice case study, what's key is I'm giving you the case, the story of the leader of Greg Mortensen. I'm also giving you the theory. I would like you to evaluate the case by the authentic leadership theory. So I'd like you to go back and take, as we go back to the theoretical model, this theoretical model of how leadership works, and then ask through these questions. Is this Greg Mortenson, how does he function by authentic leadership? What are some of the evidences that it's there? How could authentic leadership be improved? And if you click on this document, there are specific questions to ask about this case. You are evaluating his leadership and the organization through the lens of authentic leadership. You only need to do one as a group and turn it in and put it together. And the key as you're going through this is you're evaluating, is authentic leadership present? How is it present? And how would authentic leadership say, how would that theory say that Greg Mortenson's leadership could even be better? So later on in the term, you will do a midterm case study where I will give you the case, but not the theory. You'll pick your own to use. And then in the final case study, you're going to both pick a case and pick the theory. So I will have more to say about those at the beginning of the week, since we're getting closer to the midterm case study and then the final. This week is a practice case study. It's only worth 10 points. If your group does it, you get the points, because what you're trying to do is just get an idea of how do we evaluate an organization and its leaders through the lens of a theory, and look at it through the lens of that theory. So again, if you have questions, feel free to email me or to ask or to text or to contact the TA Madeline as well. And hope you have a great weekend. Thank you.